Juan, welcome to InsurTechTalk. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty good, pretty good. Now, sun is shining a little bit. It's been a tough few months for all of us in Spain, raining a lot. But yeah, it's been now the sun is shining. February is coming to an end, so we're fine.
Listen, you sound like me in Los Angeles. We had like 3 days of rain and we didn't know what to do about it. We were like, oh my God, it's rain. Let's be extremely careful. At the same time, there is like a snowmageddon in New York and the East Coast. And those guys have like, I don't know, a foot of snow or something like that. But yeah, the sun is shining, most definitely.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start of the year for all of us in with the climate. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be more and more interesting as time progresses. But while one of the other, I think that the last episode that went public was about climate tech, and there is a lot to talk about it, and especially on the element of construction and reinsurance, and we see a lot of push from the reinsurance on climate and ESG and other things, mainly in Europe. In the US now we are kind of not reverting it, but asking, is that for show or is that for actually something that will have any type of an impact? Because, well, windmills actually more pollute than actually provide energy. But that's a side note, different topic. We're talking about insurance today. Juan, how about you tell us about Tuio and what do you guys do?
Right. Tuyo, we are fairly recent company here in Spain. We are a company focused on covering most business lines, most personal business lines, basic business lines. We're talking about homeowners, term life, because it's so we're very close to homeowners due to the mortgages. We're talking about auto. We're talking about pets, which is a really growing business line for us right now. And we're trying to make insurance digital, fair, and by just price. That's our main motto. And we started the company in 2021. We realized there is this underserved segment in the industry. There is this segment. We define it by 25 to 55, but it's not a rigid definition. It's more about behavior, not really about socio-demo profile. So we saw this customer that's really online. Because it's really online, he purchases his groceries online. He purchases stuff through Amazon. He consumes content through Netflix. And that customer, they didn't have a value proposition from the insurance market, from the insurance industry to cater to their needs. So we saw, oh, maybe there's something here. And we started looking into this customer, and this customer it's very online. It goes through price comparison websites. It gets a lot of informs, get a lot of financial literacy. It's a bit different. So he knows what's the price point that he wants to pay, and he also knows the policy that he's purchasing. So he's very informed, and that obviously puts pressure on insurers' top line. So you cannot charge whatever you want for your policies, especially in P&C, which is kind of commoditized. But then also, since this customer is very well informed, it also puts pressure in the bottom line because they tend to have in personal lines more frequency, and personal lines are more often than not games of frequency, not games of peak claim value. Obviously, not in auto. Auto is a different ballgame, but it tends to be more of a game of frequency. So we have this customer that puts pressure on top line and the bottom line. And when you're looking into the side of the industry, you start looking at, if you look at age cohorts 60 and up, you see this, they tend to have combined ratios of 85, 80, 90. Then you look at 60 and below, and then you start having 100, 105, 110, and you start to realize, oh, yeah, this customer is very particular in the way it behaves, but also it's not profitable at all for the industry. So obviously, the industry is not going to invest in a, let's say, bad customer. Right? So we saw this conundrum, like you have a customer that's not served by the industry, but also it's a customer that's not profitable. So you don't really want to invest in this customer. So we found out maybe if we set up a digital self-service platform that this customer can do everything on its own and kind of caters to its needs, but also makes it a profitable customer, then we have a business. And that's what we've been building for the past 5 years. Obviously, we started with traditional technology, digital technology, online apps, and everything else. And then we moved in 2023 to AI, which is like the latest and greatest technology to just cater this type of segment.
We're going to touch AI in a moment because I think that every week now we hear Anthropic or ChatGPT or any one of them coming out with like, hey, we released a new feature. And then we see a sector just losing billions, if not trillions, of valuation, and in terms of the industry. They already hit, what was it? It was the IGV. So the software, mainly SaaS. Then we saw the financials. I would not be surprised that they're going to hit, I don't know, industry or infrastructure, because God knows why, because people are just panicking. But yes, most definitely AI is the steam engine of our I would like to say generation, but we've seen already so many different changes from internet to mobile, now AI. So I don't know where the generation starts and stops, right? I come to think about it, when I was a kid, we still had a black and white TV at home. So yeah, no, that's a little bit troubling. But so it means that I would get like a combined. I will provide you with a combined ratio of 80 or a loss ratio. Or no,
I think you're more I think you're more digital than you get
in
credit
the
for.
hundreds. Yes, but well, so far no claims from my side. What's the size of the insurance market in Spain?
It's about 9 billion personal lines. So it's just
Okay.
it's a good market. It's a big market. We see an opportunity here in Spain. We see an opportunity in Southern Europe.
Mhm.
You see, if you look at places like the UK or the Nordics or Switzerland or Germany, you see there's a couple of companies just like ours that are looking at putting these digital value propositions for insurance for personal lines in the hands of the customers. But we couldn't see anything here in Spain or in Southern Europe. There used to be a few of them in France, but they've kind of like diluted a little bit themselves, and now we see an opportunity to just build this big challenger here in Spain, in Portugal, France, Italy, Greece as well. So there's I think there is an opportunity for us to just build something big.
And who are the main players?
The usual that we have players like original from Spain, the Mafres and the direct lines, and then you have the international players, the Zurichs, the AXAs, the Allianz of the world. What we see is that the main, sorry for that, there's an alarm going on outside. We see around 50% of our customers come from the direct brand from Mafre, Direct Line, and who was the other one? But yeah, direct Mutua Madrileña, which is a great direct player here in Spain. So 50% of our customers come from three players, those three players, which are the main direct players, and then the rest of them, all the other ones are just the traditional players a little bit. It varies according on the month, obviously, because they are more broker focused. But yeah, those.
And for most of the people, most of my audience is US based, and they are less familiar, because Spain is like, oh, that's cool. I know paella or sangria. That will be kind of the most. A few of them will visit Madrid and Barcelona and go like, oh yes, tourism. And then of course I will tell them, dude, don't go there. If you do, don't go to La Rambla. But that's completely different story. But you know, they will do the Tour de Gaudi, etc., etc., etc. So insurance. Well, you have the big players. Spain is not really notorious for startup scene. Now, that may be a misconception. Is there a startup scene in the big cities, or how does it work? Because,
Yeah,
tell me yours, wave in your life story or your origin story. How did you come up to launch your own insurance company?
right. So we're three co-founders. I run mostly growth, digital product, and partnerships. One of my other co-founders, one of the actual tech guy, he runs data and technology, and Jose Maria, my third co-founder, he runs operations, strategy, finance, and all that, and the insurer relationships. So we as I said, we figured out that there was this customer that was underserved. We've been pretty interested in the ecosystem. There is a few unicorns here in Spain, mostly based off Madrid and Barcelona, obviously. The ecosystem is I would say it's pretty recent, but if you look at the different countries in Europe, we are probably the only country that has two different hubs in terms of actually startup ecosystem. When you look at the UK, it's mostly London. you look at France, mostly Paris. You look at Sweden, it's mostly Stockholm. So we're pretty lucky that we have two, and it's just those are the main ones. We have big airports, and then there's this good connectivity between the two in train by plane. So we have Factorial, we have Cabify, we have Globo as well. We have a few unicorns as well. So it's travel perk is based in Barcelona as well. So there is for the size of our country, which is obviously not that big as big as some of the states in the US. I think we are a pretty recent ecosystem. We're young, we're growing. So more and more, when you see new startups coming up, it's true that it's been a few difficult years for VCs and for startups in general. Because as soon as you get high up interest rates, money for alternative investments dry up in a little bit. But then there was a lot of investment in the previous years, and now it seems to be recuperating. I'm pretty positive the outlook of a startup because in Spain, given that we don't have a large economy as somewhere like California, some other different countries, right?
Well, I think that California has only California is number 6 or 5 now, and it has a bigger economy than Germany.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest economies in the world.
Yeah, but our governor is trying to kind of shut it down for no good reason. But again, I'll do my best to not talk politics, although sometimes we need to because it is tied to the economy and all kinds of different decisions impact everything, especially when you talk about interest rate, and that's immediately, cascades down to, are you raising debt, private debt, equity, what type of fuel are you pumping, what type of gas you're pumping into that car that you call a startup. Now, was it easy to launch a startup?
Well, launching a startup in a regulated industry is obviously more difficult than not. But one of the things that we thought when looking at insurance, since none of us came from insurance before, we were aware of the industry, but I was working in telco. I launched an insurance project within Orange in Spain, which Orange is a telco provider in Southern Europe, and I launched the insurance piece, and I realized all the difficulties with technology, with the rigidity of the industry, the legacy systems, and all that we know and kind of love from insurance. And Jose Maria was a consultant at BCG. He was consulting for different finance firms, banks on one side, and then insurance companies on other. And Assis was working at risk. So we kind of were, even though we weren't in the industry, we were industry aware in a way. And we knew what we were getting into in terms of regulation and how it was going to be a bit more difficult to launch compared to, any other type of industry that's not as regulated as software, for example. But then regulation can be a moat for you as well. If you do well in one region, in one country, for example, then international players or other established players may have more difficulties to come grab your lunch. And if you look at different countries, you always see you see the international players, but you also see local champions. And that's what we thought, like maybe we can use if we do well and we can launch and we achieve scale, then it's going to be more difficult for new entrants to compete with us. So that was one of the things that we thought would be difficult at the beginning, but then it would have a moat. Since with the three of us, we were working in regulated industries before, telco, and even if consulting is for finance or insurance, then you are aware of the way that you need to work with regulators and make sure that you do things right. So it may take a bit more time in the beginning, but then you can use it on your own advantage. Whereas with software, it's difficult to build any kind of moats when you have the sales forces of the world or the big SaaS champions, and you have thousands of engineers and thousands of VCs pumping up money in the software industry.
Mm-hmm.
And regulation can be a moat. If you do well, if you build a digital platform that's really good, you can then move to different countries, and regulation in a way is just a moat for these international champions. You can build your own place and then work from there.
I think you opened up so many different things that I would like to tie down and then use as a segue to the main topic, I would say, the AI part. But recognizing the moat is extremely important. And then you need to understand what type of a moat are we talking about, because usually it used to be the technology. Now AI just broke or filled that moat up. It's like today I played a little bit with all kind of Claude, etc., etc. Now I'm experimenting a little bit with the anti-gravity, and it's freaking amazing. It's there is I I know how to call, but if earlier I was like, how do I do that? Let me go on Stack Overflow, or I'm too lazy to remember the exact syntax. Let me just Google it and it will give me a result. And on page 2, I will find it. Now it's like, please code for me. Please do this. What's the idea? Here is the vibe coding. It's like, I have this idea, I don't really like what DocuSign is doing, and I want to have my own solution for DocuSign and a full control of the data room for my clients and what are the regulations, so e-signature will apply, and the timestamp IP, all different things, right only, all that stuff. Amazing, just amazing. That mode becoming a little bit more filled. And I think that kind of tying it back to the topic that you mentioned earlier, that I'm very impressed because many startups don't understand it, that the marketing and targeting and doing the right targeting, and in your case you use behavior, you can get the right type of risk that you want, the right type of policyholders. There are many that missing it at the beginning, and it takes them time to truly understand that in insurance, garbage in, garbage stays, or it comes out as a claim. And the fact that by behavior, you already, this is the loss ratio, or the combined so in your case, loss ratio, sorry. This is this type of segment in the population, that segment, and by their behavior, the self-doer, I forgot the name that we call that, the knowledgeable or risk-aware, knowledgeable.
Financial literacy, yeah.
That's already how to calm them down, because the risk, it's like, okay, yeah, I know that behavior will lead to better risk and the cost or whatever that you need in order to support them down the road. That's great. So now we can use that segue and talk about the modes and filling them out and AI. So what do you do with an AI?
We do a bit of everything. Okay. We started like everybody.
Great topic. I love the answer.
We started a little bit. We do a little bit of everything. We started like with customer service agents, like everybody else. Everybody started like for that. Everybody starts like that because it's what everybody thinks about when they're thinking about AI, right? They think about text agents. They think about voice agents. We started with text agents in 2023. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very soon in the Gen AI explosion. We started with ChatGPT 3.5. So that was ages ago, it seems. It's just not.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's not that long ago, but it definitely seems like the prehistoric era. And it presented a set of challenges. Obviously, 3.5 still hallucinated a lot. When the context window wasn't very, very large, there was a set of issues, but you could definitely see that there was something there. Mm-hmm. This technology was gonna be huge, and we started working for a text agent, and then we've been working very hard on that for the past few years. But then in 2024, by the end of 2024, we realized maybe this is not the way to go. When you look at the cost base of insurance, cost to serve efficiency, cost to serve in general is just 10% of the actual cost base. So even if you are very efficient with AI, you're not going to get that many profit margin points, right? Because it's only 10% of your cost base. So it is what it is. Even if you get a reduction of 50%, it's only 5 percentage points. So we started looking at how can we use this crazy technology to make better decisions, right? How can we use it to actually improve on the largest cost-based buckets that we see? And if you look at the P&L of the insurers, then the largest profit margins are marketing and claims. Those are the biggest ones, right? So that's how we started, how we continued working. Don't get me wrong, text agents and voice agents give you a lot of scalability and it can even give you a lot of NPS in terms of customer satisfaction, but it won't improve your P&L massively. Then we started looking at how we can improve our marketing expenditure on our claims, those ratios, and then that's when the magic started happening for us. And We can say that now we're running. If you look at the average of homeowners insurance in Spain, the average in the industry is running. It's about 5% margin. We are running currently at 15% margin, and we hope to be at 18% margin by the end of the year. So we are looking at. We have actually been able, and that this is the neat part of our story, is that we've been able to move from pilots and operational KPIs as the matter of success from AI, and actually link it to P&L success, which is what we all want. Obviously, we want a business to make money. That's the end stage of that.
That's the most important KPI. So many people are missing the profitability, or in this case, the margin, and those are really good numbers.
Yeah, they are. So what we do, we figure out. So we need to look at this and how we improve in these two bucket areas, and we started thinking about how we make better decisions, right? So we build this agent. We call it Watson, the Sherlock Holmes helper, because he's an investigator at heart, and that's what we do. We build this agent. We build this nested action machine. What it does is we have this fully digitized claims filing process where you actually, to file a claim, you go on our app, and then you take a video, or you take some pictures, or you even forward us your police reports if you had something stolen. So you get all these corpus of information that it already gives us an advantage from a traditional insurer, because you don't have someone in the phone and you don't have any information. So you got all that. Then we pull all this different information that we get from our onboarding, all the different things that you've read. We get all the different conversations that you would have with our customer success agents. We get your policy. We get all the different interactions that you may have had on different policy, right? So we get all these corpus of information, which is really large. We're talking about 1 million tokens and 1.5 million tokens. That's about €1 of a call of the API of a given LLM. And what Gen AI does very well, they can make reason from a large size of information, whereas we as humans, you would need to watch the video, you would need to look at the pictures, you would need to figure out his declaration, you would need to go to the internet and watch different things. And it would take time, right? So the first advantage of using AI to parse through that information is that, they do it very fast. It's obviously not instantaneously, but it's way faster than a person. A person may take 3 hours. AI does it in minutes, right? So that's the first thing. And then what AI does very well is go through that.
I'm sorry to stop you in the middle here. For those who are not familiar, what is a token and what's the role of it in the AI system?
Token is basically the unit measure, so that you're charged in a way. It's just that the amount of thinking, that's how you size how big or how small is the call to an LLM, right? So that's how you measure all the thinking units of an LLM. So the bigger the number of tokens, the more processing that it needs from the LLM, right? So that's basically it. It's the unit of thinking in a way. So you get a call. What LLMs do very well is just go through through that information and make sense of it, right? So you get that input. You go through these different agents and sub-agents, and we get recommendations of next steps. That's why it's a next best action agent. We get this set of recommendations. Maybe you have the reserves. Maybe you have to send a repairman. Maybe you have to send an indemnization. Maybe you even have to reject the claim, unfortunately, for the customer. So we get all this set of recommendations, and that's a fixed set of recommendations, because at any stage of a claim, just do that. And then you have a confidence level. We ask our agent to say, how confident you are on this recommendation. And with that, you can start automating things, right? So for example, for updating reserves, since it's not a matter of very critical for the customer, it's just internal accounting. Even with a low degree of confidence, you can actually go ahead and automate that. But something like a rejection, which is not only illegal, we just don't want it as a matter of fact. We want always to have a person to review that decision in a human in the loop designing of agents. So we do that, and now we have a completely different way of handling claims. Now our adjusters are not the responsible of the claim end to end. Watson is the responsible of the claim end to end, and our adjusters have to review what Watson is doing, which is for them. they can do way more with their time, and they can actually go and add value where they add value, which is being empathetic with the customer, making sure that the machine is not missing any correct cases. But they don't need to spend 3 hours of their lives just going through all the different pieces of information that a customer might have given us, or go to and see the customer file to see the type of customer it is, how long it's been with us. All that is managed by the agent, and our adjuster just review the decisions if they have, and then accept it or reject it. And when they reject it, they have to actually input why they are rejecting that, and that goes straight to an MD file. And then we keep learning, and we reinforce the learning of the agents. So now an adjuster before might have 300 concurrent claims in a way, and now you can have 3,000. That's not exact numbers, but you can imagine the different superhuman abilities that the agent is giving our adjusters. We also have an agent for marketing, which is the same logic. You have traditionally for marketing,
Okay.
the digital marketing. For those inclined into marketing, traditionally what you would have is a certain number of campaigns, not too many, because then you cannot manage them. And then at least for search engine optimization, search engine marketing, you would have within those campaigns, you would have a set of keywords, and you would broad match. Broad match means you would have one central keyword, and then you would match with everything else that has that keyword. Because if you do exact matching, which is the opposite, it's just you just bid for that exact keyword, then it's completely unmanageable, because the tree of campaigns plus keywords it isn't humanly possible to just manage it all. And now what we have is the same thing. We gave it to this agent the ability to get to all those campaigns and to all those keywords. And now where we had 10 campaigns with broad matching keywords, now we have probably 100 campaigns with only exact keywords. So we can be very granular in the way we invest our marketing. We can see if, this keyword is not being very, very profitable for us, or maybe you reduce the investment, or maybe you just get rid of it altogether. And those are the types of recommendations that we're getting from this other agent focused on marketing. But it's the same logic. Is you just have an AI agent go through a huge corpus of information and make it palatable for your people, and then just go and then accept or reject recommendations. Same logic, different field, better results for us.
Now, the fact that you can fine-tune it and using the agent to do that automatically, and by that saving, the human times, work and error, it's remarkable. Because one of the challenges, I remember the different days you had the AdSense, AdWords and all that stuff, and you had to look and bid and figure it out, and then run an A/B testing, ABCDEFG testing of which campaign will work. And now if you have the agent is doing it for you quickly and efficiently, done. What else do you need? And based on what you already set up in terms of your target, and you know what it is, and their user behavior and how they're going to use the platform itself, it's a great setup towards success. And you've been running
it. It is. If you think about it, is the whole concept of continuous improvement is just the Toyota way, right? So they use it for factories. Now we use it for claims adjustment and for marketing expenditure. And then little by little, you reduce waste. That's what you do. You reduce waste in terms of marketing expenditure that's not bringing conversion ratio, or you reduce waste in terms of dispersion of average cost of claims. So you little by little, you do better every week on week. You see marketing expenditure converging. You see average cost of claims converging through among all the different adjusters. So you are able to manage your waste in a way better and reduce it, and then you are just more profitable than the competition. It's not that the agent it just makes you absolutely better, which it does. It's that you actually by weekly improvements, then you're just way better than the competition, which is what we were aiming for.
Now, who are your backers? I'm sure that you recently raised Series A, right?
We did raise 15 million Series A, which we're very happy with. We had previous backers that continue with us. One of them is BankUp, which is a Southern American fund. Then we have Mass Mutual Ventures, which led the round. Then we also had BlackRock from the venture debt fund. And yeah, we're very happy with our investors. They help us quite nice.
Oh, listen, if Mass Mutual and those guys invested behind, so you get U.S. investors into a European startup, you have the right numbers to show for. That's why they are there. And I know the guys in Mass Mutual, they know their stuff. And
they know their stuff. Yeah, we're growing 10% month over month. So we're very happy with that. It's still a challenge. Once you get to a certain size, we are about to pass 100,000 customers and around 15 million of premiums.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been a challenging year last year with everything that's happened, but it's a fun ride.
And I'm very sorry. What happened last year?
Well, we raised the fund and we started accelerating.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I don't know. You said it in a way that I thought it's like, did I miss something that happened in Spain?
No. That's whenever you have you raise a new round, then there's a new set of challenges, right? So we expanded product lines and we started setting up all these different agents, and I mean a lot of things happened this past year, and now we're setting up the company for the next stage, which is going international, right? Portugal, France, Italy, Greece. We still need to see the order and the correct time frame for that, but yeah, we're setting ourselves for success.
It's funny. When you say that, it's like, oh yes, you're right. For you, Portugal, it's international, although it's like a small hope. Just you can actually take a train.
It is. It's both the magic and the beauty of Europe, and also the drawback because we don't have a common market, right?
They are all in the Schengen, although it's not all part of the EU economic zone. Does it also include the regulation for insurance, or it's different?
There's these devices called passporting that you can have your license in one country to go operate in a different country, but every country has its quirks in terms of regulation. So you want to have a foot on the ground in the new countries. So you also need localized marketing, localized claim adjustment. Even though we have all these agents that will help us massively to go international, you have to have a boot in the ground in a way. So yeah, I mean, in going international, it's always a challenge. You don't know what you're going to get yourself into until you're there.
Of course.
It presents a different set of challenges, even if it's a small country, like compared to us, like Portugal.
Of course. But most of the people think that the difference is only the language, but there are all kinds of cultural nuances that are just big gaps. And in the US, I'm trying to, especially here in the US, people think it's like, what's the difference? Europe is Europe. Well, I'm exaggerating, right? But you will have, it's the same gap, minor or bigger cultural gap between New York City and Cleveland, Ohio, or nowhere, Pennsylvania, right? You have, there are things, actually, in New York itself, the different boroughs, you will have different vibe and different subtle nuances of the local culture. But that's what it is. And there are jokes that based on how you say, well, there is like a full list of question, a flow that based on how you say different things, they can tell where you are, which town, across the track. It really depends if you call a soda pop or everything and how you pronounce things, right? And that's only here in the States. And we have like 50 states and another number of other territories. And then you talk like, Spain, Portugal, it's like just same kind of like half island, but at the same island. No, is it a
peninsula?
It's a peninsula, yeah. Although it's the same thing that you can call India, right? It's
we're just way smaller.
Yeah, way, yeah. They
way smaller.
Yeah, and I think that population-wise, they reached now 1.5 billion. It's quite a number.
It is quite the number.
So next steps, going international, making sure that all the agents know how to do that. You have the different. Are you using human agents to do the sales, or everything is online? Or
everything is online. We do have our customer success team.
Mm-hmm.
To help customers do different things and maybe solve the problems, but we push our customers to be this digital self-service model, because the corpus of information that the digital surface gives us just helps us. And we didn't talk about this, but we have like about 800 data points, the different data points that we use. We don't use all of them, but we have all of them, and we cannot see patterns through all that noise for underwriting. Having them move through the digital platform is not just for easier cost to serve for us and for easier serving for us. It's just also it gives us way more information than traditional insurers have. They usually have 20 data points from the questionnaire that they give you. We think we can underwrite risk better. That's what you said. I wouldn't say better. I would say more granular. We tend to give, by the patterns that we see, everyone its correct price. For example, just to give an example, so your listeners can understand, we found that Apple users tend to have average claim costs higher than Android users or Windows users. So we charge more for the policies just because it's what the appropriate price that you should have. Unfortunately, I'm an Apple user, so I feel that pain. But if you have a predicted average cost of claims higher than another cluster of customers, then you have to pay more, and that's the way insurance works. It's just now we can actually discern those different clusters that we couldn't before.
Interesting, because how do regulators work with dynamic rating or algorithmic? Is it algorithmic, or is it, I don't know is it AI driven rates, or how do the regulators work with that?
It's not really AI driven.
Okay.
Rates. You just know that a particular customer do have that profile, and then it's same algorithm. It's just as the previous one. You just have more parameters in a way, but it's not algorithmic. It's just all that data, we could see patterns of behavior, and then plug that into the claims data and see, these customers that are navigating through our onboarding and through our app from an iPhone, they tend to have, when they have a claim, they tend to have a higher cost. So we may as well plug that into the equation to give them the price.
So people, if you're buying insurance in Spain, use your Android device. Now, I don't know any US people who are actually using Android. Actually, no. I used to have Android when I was doing mobile applications and games and stuff like that. I can test it. No, everyone is on iPhone. But no, I'm sorry for asking that question, because it's very interesting, because here the regulator, and it's state by state, you need to submit it. And you have the tables, you have everything need to be submitted, so there will be a certain transparency and all that stuff. And then there was a point that it's okay, we want to do it dynamic. So dynamic, it's more of the algorithm. Then algorithm is very vague for most of the people. Is it if then kind of an algorithm? Is it a complicated? Or because most of the people think it's like, okay, there is like this mesh or a table, and then we can actually do something that is personalized for a specific risk, which is kind of against most of the regulators' approach, because they want to see the group and to make sure that everyone can be insured, because it's the greater risk, and making sure that everyone can be insured and safe and be remedied in case of a claim. And now, what I kind of from this conversation is like, how do we do that with AI? How, if we're going to have an agent, a rating agent, which is kind of learning on the way, so an LLM that will provide the rate, how do we set that up? And how do we work with the regulator on it? Because that's going to be completely out of bounds unless we are defining the guardrails in advance. But yeah,
probably pricing is going to be very tough to have an agent that we don't use Gen AI agents. We just use machine learning and predictive analytics. So I can't answer your question, but it's probably going to be difficult, because at least in Europe, regulation says that you cannot automate decisions around that. So, or at least black box decisions around that cannot be fully automated. So you need to have explainability on your ratings. So you can have new types of data to be plugged into your pricing equation, but you still need to be able to explain your pricing, right? So a full LLM based rating agent is probably be very frowned upon it here in Europe. We don't have that. So I mean, we probably wouldn't want to touch that either, just because it's illegal.
No. Here it's the same. There are so many questions that you cannot ask. And at best, just there are places that you can use the credit score. There are places that you cannot. You try to apply zip code to kind of understand what's the risk in that zip code. But there are all kinds of plays and games around it because people are trying to figure out, okay, who are we actually giving this policy and what's the risk that included? So yeah, it's a great question. And
it's an open question. I don't know that anybody has a good solution for that.
No, but that's part of the regulation and the pushback, let's call it, from the government against making people uninsured, because it's a fine balance, and I don't have a good answer for. But with this somber note, let's talk about something optimistic and then kind of conclude, because this has been a lovely conversation and I see that we passed the 45-minute mark. Do you have any tip or, let's call it, aha moment that you had that you would like to share with people?
Sure. I think that switch from chasing pure cost efficiency just because it's what everybody was doing, text agents and voice agents, and having that switch on making sure that you're working on the largest P&L cost buckets that will actually help you get more out of, better unit economics and better profitability from your business was probably the biggest aha moment that switched. And now it seems very obvious, but when we started looking at how we can do better in claims, how we can do better in marketing, it wasn't obvious, and it took us some time to just working around that and figuring out how to do better, how to improve our economics. And now we're very happy because we have this flywheel, this positive flywheel that with like Toyota improving every week on week, and making sure that we're always looking at linking AI with our economics. That seems very obvious, but it wasn't at the time. So for me, and you touched a little bit previously about that, with Claude or with Codex, you can build anything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I think it's going to be differential for companies is making sure that you're building where you should. Defining that should can come in very different ways. From us came from looking at the P&L structure of insurance and looking at, so maybe we need to work where it's going to have the most impact, which was, again, marketing and claims. For other companies will be something different, but making sure that you're working where you should and not where you can, because you can work anywhere. That's probably going to be the biggest aha moment for everybody. Yes.
Fantastic. Juan, thank you very, very, very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking with you about Tuio, about AI. We didn't talk about food or wine, but fine. We skipped talking about the outdoors and playing rugby. And actually, the mascot, the raccoon, I had a few questions about that, but that's cute. I really love that illustration. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.